Think first. Think fast. Think Central Indiana's #1 primetime newscast. Fox 59 News at 10.
An Indianapolis man tries to rebuild his life after he says the Indianapolis Police Department destroyed him. Good evening, everyone. I'm Cheryl Adams.
And I'm Bob Donaldson. First on Fox tonight, you may recall the story of 11-year-old LaShawna Bates, raped and murdered in 1994. Tonight, we dig deeper into why it took IPD 6 years to solve the crime. Fox 59's Tracy Wells has the story of one man's accusations against the police department. Tracy?
Bob, this could be a case of tunnel vision against the Indianapolis police detectives, according to this man. The wrongfully accused man is not an angel by any means, but there's also never been any evidence that he's a murderer, especially the murderer of a little girl. But that didn't stop detectives investigating the LaShawna Bates murder.
One murdered little girl, 2 possible suspects. One man lived with 11-year-old LaShawna Bates when she disappeared. Archie Jackson had several misdemeanors on his criminal record, a bad temper, and a history of physical abuse against the girl's mother.
Nobody likes him.
The other suspect, a convicted child molester who lived in LaShawna's neighborhood. 29-year-old Charles Doherty is the man who found LaShawna's body on the other side of town.
At first, I thought he was just a good Samaritan.
Almost immediately, Doherty faded into the background, but Jackson says detectives constantly harassed and followed him.
The police officer never gave up on me. They wanted to find me guilty. They stalked me everywhere I went. They came up on my job, got me fired.
From the very moment that her body was discovered, I had an interest in it.
Major Richard Crenshaw's jurisdiction over the juvenile case ended once it became a homicide investigation. That's when Detective Steve Guthier headed up the case. But Crenshaw says from the time Doherty revealed LaShawna's body, the evidence pointed at him.
The more I learned about him and the more I heard about the circumstances, the more certain I was that he was the most viable suspect, or at least he knew a whole lot more than what he was telling us.
Doherty was convicted of child molestation in 1992, later accused of accosting 2 neighborhood girls, violating his probation. Doherty was put in a group home where he was then accused of raping a woman. So why did Guthier and his team of detectives still focus on Jackson?
I can't say. All I can say from that point of view is that to me, at that time, it was very obvious. It was not very obvious to other people.
And the pressure grew around Jackson.
It's been 7 years of terror from the Indianapolis Police Department on me.
As the cops followed Jackson, Charles Doherty lived freely. In 1998, Guthier was reassigned to robbery, and LaShawna's case became a cold case. This year, Crenshaw's promoted, reopens the case, and assigns a new detective who will listen to his theory about Doherty within months.
Very happy this afternoon to announce that we've made an arrest in a 6-year-old homicide case.
Guthier sits quietly during the press conference as IPD pats itself on the back. But today, LaShawna's family asks, why did it take more than 6 years to find the little girl's killer?
I don't know. I couldn't understand why they didn't feel as I did, and they couldn't understand why I didn't feel as they did.
I feel good they caught the guy, but what's done happened to my life?
Right now, the only evidence police say that they have against Charles Doherty is his confession, but they say that he detailed things that only the murderer would know. Detective Steve Guthier would not talk to us about this case.
All right, Tracy, thank you for bringing us that story.
In other news, it's been 34 hours since the Indianapolis Baptist Temple became the property of the U.S. government. But tonight, the temple's congregation retained control of the building. Fox 59's Russ McQuaid is outside the temple where the church and its backers prepare to spend a second night waiting for federal agents to come. Russ?
That's right, Cheryl. This church was lost in a fight between the IRS and the church over federal withholding taxes. Well, tonight, church members and their backers remain committed to a house of worship that technically is no longer theirs. They showed up with their sleeping bags and overnight supplies. About 200 people turned out for a worship service to support a church that sees itself as a bulwark against what it calls the creeping socialism of the federal government. In his service tonight, Pastor Greg Dixon was unyielding in his defiance of the authorities.
But we would be fools to give up $6 million worth of property in 90 different ministries Christian school after 30 years if this was not a conviction. Amen. It's not a preference, it's a conviction.
Dixon says there has been some minor vandalism here at the church in the day and a half since the passing of the federal court order deadline. The U.S. Marshals seem in no hurry to take control of this church, and Pastor Dixon is calling for a peaceful, though an involuntary, surrender of the church. He says that any issue regarding the duration of this occupation may be discussed at a meeting tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Cheryl?
Okay, Russ, thank you very much. She confessed to playing a role in a series of church arsons. Now, Angela Wood will spend more than a decade behind bars. The 25-year-old companion of confessed church arsonist Jay Ballinger was sentenced today to 16.5 years. Wood will also have to pay $362,000 in restitution. She apologized for her actions at the sentencing today.
A 5-month-old baby girl is doing well tonight after her mother left her on an Anderson doorstep in freezing temperatures early this morning. Police say 21-year-old Candace Olden left the baby on the doorstep of the father's new girlfriend's home. The girlfriend's mother found the baby around 8 o'clock this morning. Investigators say the baby wasn't dressed properly for the cold weather, but she still was not injured. Olden faces child neglect charges. A fallen officer's idea became reality tonight for the benefit of his family. An enthusiastic crowd watched Beech Grove teachers and police officers battle on the hardwood in a charity basketball game. Officer William Toney planned it to benefit the DARE program, but Toney was shot to death in the line of duty more than a month ago. Now, the money will be redirected to a trust fund for his children.
Since the unfortunate circumstances in September with his death, the school and kind of took the lead and planned this event that's going to benefit Bill Toney's family.
The Beech Grove High School principal and city police chief refereed tonight's game.
It was another day of twists and turns in Florida as the presidential vote count controversy plays out in the court of law and the court of public opinion.
Fox 59's Grant Rampey has tonight's developments from Tallahassee, including a proposed deal tonight from Vice President Al Gore.
Well, might George W. Bush be one big step closer to assuming the presidency? A major bombshell tonight from Florida's Secretary of State. She says she will not accept any more ballot recount totals. This on a day when there has not been much good news for Republicans.
No more.
A setback for the Bush campaign today. Florida State Supreme Court unanimously refuses to stop the hand recounting process. Bush's Florida spokesman says at some point this has to end.
The Gore campaign strategy, I think, is crystal clear. Keep conducting selective recounts, keep filing lawsuits, keep making false charges that divert attention, and keep refusing to accept any deadline until the results change.
Bush is still ahead by 300 votes according to the official numbers. Still, there are more than 1 million ballots to be re-examined. Palm Beach County judge says workers there can go back and check for dimples on thousands of ballots that had been discarded during the machine counts. But will the new results be accepted?
It is my duty under Florida law to exercise my discretion in denying these requested amendments.
The Secretary of State's office, along with the Bush campaign, is asking another court, this time the Federal Appeals Court in Atlanta, to step in and stop the hand recounts.
The game may be delay those recounts as long as possible and then bring down the curtain.
We look forward to a quick and speedy resolution.
Vice presidential hopeful Dick Cheney and his wife visited Republican campaign workers today, while George Bush remained holed up with his advisors. In a statement late this afternoon, Al Gore said he thinks it's time he and his opponent had a sit-down.
We should both call on all of our supporters to respect the outcome of this election, whatever it may be.
So what's next? Democrats will almost certainly file suit against the Secretary of State, accusing her of acting arbitrarily and of abusing her discretion. This isn't over by a long shot. In Tallahassee, Grant Rampey, Fox 59 News.
Another dispute is brewing closer to home tonight. Proposed interstate expansion may claim up to 50 homes on the city's far east side. Fox 59's Steve Rogie has this story now from Warren Township. Steve?
It is a case where some may have to give up their homes so that others can get home faster. 50 homes in all along the 465 I-70 junction could be torn down, and that includes this one right here. Now, the owner of this property is Tim Adams, and here you see Tim and hundreds of his neighbors at tonight's informational meeting at Warren Central High School. Tim bought this house and improved it in hopes of reselling it for profit. But if it's claimed for public right-of-way, he may have no choice but to take the state's offer. Still, he does understand the need for bigger and better interstates.
It's really busy. I mean, we can watch the interstate from our door, so it's kind of unfortunate. I just wish there was something else they could do besides taking all these houses. I mean, they're really going to affect a lot of people.
The good news is there is some time to fight, because no one would have to move, even under the worst circumstances, for a full 7 years. 2 phases, no buying of houses in the first phase, the second phase looking at the year 2007. And Cheryl, tonight, a lot of people were concerned that the neighborhood needed to get actively involved in this process, making suggestions, asking questions. Maybe it could help determine exactly what happens here.
We'll see how this one plays out. Thank you, Steve. Well, there's a renewed push tonight to bring daylight savings time to Indiana.
Thank you, Brian.
A coalition of businesses, law enforcement, and recreation groups will lobby the General Assembly to make the change in the upcoming legislative session. The Hoosier Coalition wants the majority of the state to recognize daylight savings time in the spring and summer. Members say the move will improve the economy, reduce crime, and reduce traffic accidents.
Well, the dead of night isn't quite as cold tonight. Let's check in with Brian at the Weather Center to find out our first forecast. Hi there, Brian.
Hi there, Bob. Everyone can use a little more sunshine, and we did have it today as promised. A nice day, although cool. In fact, cold this morning. It was the coldest morning since early April. Well, it's not as cold tonight. Winds are blowing out of the south. Some clouds are rolling in. We've got a storm system that will once again bring us some precipitation. Will it be rain? Will it be snow? And a shot of Arctic air is still in this forecast. We'll have the details coming up later on. Cheryl, Bob?
See you then. Thank you, Brian.
Also ahead on Fox 59 News, the Federal Reserve Board meets. We'll tell you what that means for your interest rates.
Plus, a New York woman makes history surviving a rare heart surgery. Hear about the amazing operation that saved her life.
Then, what is bugging ex-Beatle George Harrison? Why he's upset with the court ruling. After the break.
Wall Street made some gains today despite unwelcome news from the Federal Reserve.
The board's meeting tops our look around the world in 59 seconds.
The Federal Reserve left interest rates alone at its meeting today, but Chairman Alan Greenspan says inflation remains a risk and signaled a future tightening of money policy.
3 of 4 Los Angeles police officers accused of framing gang members have been convicted of conspiracy. It's the first trial arising from a year-long corruption probe into LAPD.
Doctors say a New York woman who underwent auto transplant surgery is in good but guarded condition tonight. During the rare procedure, surgeons put her heart in a bowl for about 45 minutes, cut 3 tumors from it, and then put it back. Only one other patient has survived that procedure.
The man accused of attacking former Beatle George Harrison was found not guilty by reason of insanity today. Harrison was upset with the decision, saying Michael Abram was full of hate and violence when he broke into the home. And that's a look around the world in 59 seconds.
Brian rejoins us now, and as we said, not quite as cold out there tonight.
No, the winds have settled down. The temperatures dipped to 25 degrees this morning.
Yeah,
as
I felt
promised.
it.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. But believe it or not, Cheryl and Bob, I think the temperatures are going to rise tonight. We've got some wild weather going into the weekend, and includes some more cold air. We'll have the details coming up.
Fox 59 News at 10 is brought to you by Discount Tire. Stay tuned. Brian Wilkes and your Fox 59 forecast is next.
Well, seems like this early winter weather has still got a grip on central Indiana. Welcome back, everyone. The winds aren't as tough as they were last night. They were whipping around, gusting up to 25 miles per hour last night, producing a wind chill in the single digits at times. It's chilly. The temperature's at 33 degrees. We do have some more clouds beginning to filter in. The winds are light from the southeast at 7 miles per hour as the pressure begins to fall in association with a storm system that is beginning to develop and approach out in the western plains. Sunshine today after a very cold start. We hit 44 degrees. That 25 degrees is the coldest since April the 9th, the coldest air in 7 months and absolutely the coldest air so far this season. But tonight there's a different story. The winds are blowing in from the south. An area of low pressure is twisting up here near Omaha, Nebraska. The southerly wind flow will continue overnight tonight, and as the clouds begin to thicken up, those southerly winds will keep the temperatures up. So we've already settled back into the lower 30s. I think we're going to level out and maybe even come up a few degrees overnight tonight. There's the sunshine giving way to some clouds tonight. A few clouds have made it into central Illinois and are moving towards central Indiana. The brighter white tall clouds right here are denoting where there's some precipitation falling, and it's all forming in an arc near or at least north of the area of low pressure in the form of some snowfall. Now we are picking up at least some activity across western Illinois. The Doppler radar has been showing some precipitation as moisture begins to surge very quickly in from the south and west. So look at the blow up of clouds here. This is all coming towards central Indiana. Beneath the clouds, there's very little in the way of precipitation. The Doppler radar in its super sensitive mode across central Illinois is picking up some detectable precipitation aloft. The air is still pretty dry, so much of this is not going to make it to the ground overnight tonight, so I think we will be dry overnight. But the changes begin tomorrow. As the storm continues to deepen and intensify, watch the blow up here across portions of Iowa, western Missouri. This will begin to blow up in the form of some taller clouds and some precipitation. Some light rain is possible here late tonight, probably toward the pre-dawn hours, maybe a few sprinkles or early tomorrow morning. We're not going to see a great deal of precipitation out of this. And this is all snow blowing and piling up across portions of Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, where winter storm watches are in effect. There's an area of low pressure developing in the plains, an Arctic front sweeping in from behind it. The warmer front will move through tonight, so we'll be in a mild flow tomorrow with temperatures back into the middle, if not upper 40s. It turns breezy. A couple of sprinkles are possible early, then a break, and then by tomorrow night, here it comes, another reinforcing shot of that Arctic air. The temperatures are going to take a nosedive again tomorrow night, and we'll be back into some wintry weather on Friday with very chilly temperatures. The flow predominantly coming in from the north, and that's the trend that will be here right through the weekend and into early next week, with temperatures only in the mid to upper 40s tomorrow. That'll feel warm because by Friday, temperatures fall into the 20s with another howling wind and some snow flurries around. So tonight, temperatures begin to rise as we sit around 32 degrees. Tomorrow, a couple of sprinkles in the morning and that's it. Not a big deal. But then by tomorrow night, the front passes 47 degrees and then temperatures take a nosedive tomorrow night. Cold weather here on Friday. Temperatures hovering in the upper 20s to around 30 degrees. We dip to 17 on Saturday morning. Another chance for snow again Sunday night into Monday, and even colder air. Cheryl and Bob will come in early next week. How about temperatures in the teens, if not around 11 degrees by Wednesday morning? Stay warm.
Okay.
We'll keep an eye on it.
Okay, please
Sounds
do.
like winter to me.
It is here.
Isaiah returns to his former home court tonight for the first time as Pacers head coach. Plus, it was more than just fun and games when the Harlem Globetrotters hit the hardwood at Purdue tonight. Eric's got your highlights coming up next in Sports.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Ed Martin Pontiac.
Hi again, everyone. When Isaiah Thomas returned to Toronto, where he was once a part owner and executive vice president, he was booed every time his name was announced. Tonight, he returned to Detroit, where he played his entire NBA Hall of Fame career and helped lead the Pistons to a pair of NBA titles. His reception tonight in Motown?
The head coach of the Indiana Pacers, Isaiah Thomas.
Oh, yeah. Zeke gets the well-deserved applause at the Palace. Very, very nice. The first bucket of the game, it's Austin Crozier on the break. This jam, no joke. Pacers shot out to a 10-2 lead, but found themselves down by 11 at the half. This one goes down to the wire. Fourth quarter, Travis Best drills the three. He had 22 points, 8 assists. That tied the game at 77. Less than 2 minutes to go. Pacers backcourt awesome down the stretch. Watch Travis Best, shot clock winding down, nowhere to go. Reggie cuts, there's the pass, and there's the layup. That was nice. This game was tied, and then the Pacers take the lead there, 87-86. Less than a minute remaining, with just like last week's win at Conseco over Detroit, the defense stepped up. That's Sam Perkins with the tip, finds Reggie Miller at the layup. Reggie gets the 2. He had 30 points on the night. The Pacers win their 5th in a row, 92-88. That's right, Isaiah Thomas 2-0 against his old team. Jalen Rose, by the way, didn't suit up for this one. Meanwhile, Purdue closing out the preseason schedule tonight with the Harlem Globetrotters. The Globetrotters fresh off their first loss, some 1,200 games. Look at the crazy jump ball there. Coach Katie, what do you think about these crazy? Not amused. This also not too funny for the Globetrotters. They go for the dunk and watch what happens. They miss. And Purdue goes the other way. John Allison finds Willie Dean in transition. This transfer from Boston College is awesome. Sweet move. Katie, he's still not really amused. Later it's Dean, though, with the backdoor cut. That's Austin Parkinson from Kokomo with the beautiful feed. This one was tied 30-30 at the half. Dean, by the way, finished with 24 points off the bench. But in the second half, the Globetrotters stormed out to a big lead, never looked back. Purdue gets beat by the Harlem Globetrotters 74-65. The Boilers open the season for real Tuesday against Central Michigan. Butler held its media day this afternoon for the Bulldogs as they prepare for Saturday's season opener against Eastern Illinois. New this year at Hinkle, check it out, a live Bulldog mascot and head coach Thad Matta. He's new too.
We've struggled out of the gates at Butler the last couple of years and have finished strong. And, if you ask me which one I'd rather have, I want them both is what I want. But, the schedule is loaded and we got a work cut out for us.
Yesterday in West Lafayette, today, as promised, Fox 59 in Bloomington, gearing up for our 30-minute special on the old Oaken Bucket Friday night. The Hoosiers have yet to win the bucket in the Cameron era, but would like nothing more than to ruin their rivals' holiday travel plans and bring that old Oaken Bucket back to Bloomington.
I've heard stories about just winning the bucket and walking across the field, taking the bucket and bringing it back to our sideline. Just to do that. I mean, that's just... I haven't been through it. I haven't won. I don't understand it, and I really get to understand it if we win and bring that bucket home.
Another reminder, Friday night, 59 overtime extra, a 30-minute preview of the old Oaken Bucket right after the news. 10:35 Friday night. What I've seen so far, this one's going to be worth watching. Although Brett Favre continued to watch Matt Hasselbeck take all the reps in practice today, the NFL's Iron Man still insists he'll play Sunday when the 7-3 Colts come to Lambeau Field. Favre has started 135 straight games. It's the longest active streak among NFL quarterbacks. The guy with the second most is pretty impressed with Favre.
I think it's one of the most impressive records around right now, and it's about being kind of accountable to your team. Certainly, if you get hurt, you get hurt, but as a quarterback, you count on your receivers to be there for you on Sunday and your linemen to be there for you. Well, your team counts on you being there, and Brett has been there every time for his team.
Jason Giambi of Oakland, the MVP, just over Frank Thomas.
All right, thank you very much, Eric.
Okay.
Brian's back next. He has your wake-up weather coming up.
Brian says you might want to grab the umbrella in the morning, but...
Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal, the rainfall. There may be some spotty light rain or drizzle out there. Not a big deal. It won't last all morning long. Temperatures will come up to 38 degrees on our way up to about 47, and then winter comes back in a big way for Friday. Cold again.
Vengeance.
Yes, it will.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you, Brian. Well, the staff here at Fox 59 is very proud tonight. The Greater Indianapolis branch of the NAACP recognized the station for its commitment to diversity and outstanding service through the Fox 59 Community Fund. Tonight, the organization held its 35th annual Freedom Fund banquet, an evening dedicated to reflecting on the civil rights legacy and inspiring others to continue the organization's efforts into the future. I had the pleasure of being the MC for the evening, and Bob and Brian were there. It was a very important night.
Well said. We are very proud. Well, that wraps up this edition of Fox 59 News. Thanks for joining us.
Tune in tomorrow to Fox 59 AM to find out how to quit smoking without gaining weight. And we'll see you right back here tomorrow night.
Bye-bye.